every new place that you hit, celebrate it, because it is truly an accomplishment. This is a brave space to step into. It's not the easiest path, but it is the most rewarding path.
Welcome everyone to the Coach Tribe podcast. Today we are having with us Emmy Walker. She is an expert when it comes to client acquisition. She is an international speaker and also a small business strategist. So there are lots of learnings that we can get from her. So I'm very excited. Let's all welcome Amy and let's enjoy this episode. Hello, Amy. How are you? We are so excited to have you here with us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and get to share. I love talking about this stuff, so I can geek out on it for days.
I can imagine, and I would ask questions for days and days, but I know we have a limited amount of time, so we need to get as much value as we can in, let's say, just a small portion of time. Is that even a saying? Anyway, I'll go straight into it and not lose any other minute. Could you please tell us, why is the topic of client acquisition so important, and why should the listeners listen to the episode?
Well, that's the hard part of running a coaching business, isn't it? Like so many coaches, you love the coaching. Once you get to that point where you have a client that you're working with and you're making a difference, that's where you shine. That's what you love. But the challenging part of the business is, how do I find the clients and how do I find them consistently? And there's too many coaches out there that they have the power, they have the voice, they have the message, they have the process that could truly transform and change lives, but they just are reaching too few people. And they feel a little bit like it's a guessing game every month. I don't know, am I going to get clients this month? Am I not going to get clients this month? Or they feel like they're having to chase and stalk people in order to get clients. And so we really want to get you to the point where you have consistent, predictable sales. That's when business becomes fun. And that's when you feel like you can breathe, because you know that you're going to be able to have consistent, predictable sales. You know what's coming. You can depend on it. You're not worried about, am I going to be able to pay my rent or my mortgage payment this month? Because you know that your business provides for you. And it's not the feast or famine. Whenever people tell me, oh, running your own business, it's so feast or famine, I'm like, well, not for me. Maybe it is for you, but not for me. That's not the way it has to be.
Can I just stop you 1 second there? Can you explain this concept you just mentioned? I don't think I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, so I hear this a lot from coaches and small business owners, where it's like feast or famine. So feast meaning I just got a bunch of new clients and I just had a lot of cash come in, and so things feel really good. And then the famine is, I haven't signed a new client in 3 months and now the cash flow is not looking so awesome and I'm feeling stressed. And I had a client that came to me a couple of years ago and she said, Amy, I just want to sell the same amount every month. I was like, well, what are you selling? And she said, I'll have a month where I do $30,000 in coaching sales. And then I'll have a month right after it where I do zero in coaching sales. And she's like, I just want consistency. I just want predictability. But the fun thing is, when you fix the problems in your client acquisition, her months immediately were at $30,000 months consistently. And then she bumped up to $50,000 months consistently. So when you're having these highs and these lows, it's because there's something missing in your process. And as soon as you fix those pieces, your consistency is going to go, that you'll be able to consistently produce at the high end of what you've been doing.
Got it. And I know you touched on some points, but I wanted to ask you, so why then we need this consistency? You mentioned some benefits of that, but what's the most important reason for which we need this consistency?
Peace of mind. I don't know about you, but my bills have to get paid every month, not just in good months, right? So I think it gives us that ability to, for the first level is, it gives us the ability to have peace of mind and know that we're going to be okay. The second thing though, is it increases the reach. When you have a 0 sales month, you influenced and impacted 0 people in your coaching program. Like nobody new came in. And so if you're money motivated, which a lot of coaches are more cause motivated than money motivated, but We all still have expenses and bills and things that we need to cover. But a lot of us are cause motivated, and I want to consistently know that I'm making a difference with my clients and I'm consistently bringing in new people. My clients right now are at so many of them are at this breakthrough point where they're all having huge successes, and it's so exciting to see that that's the work we began a few months ago, and it all starts with them saying yes to your program. So if you really want to be a difference maker in the world, you've got to consistently enroll people into your programs.
Exactly. Well, now I guess the best part comes when I'm going to ask you, so how do we do that?
Yes. How do we do it? So it's a there's four components to this. Number one is going to be your organic lead generation strategy. The leads, if you're trying to get all of your leads through ads, it's too expensive for the average coach. So for example, when I'm running Facebook ads, it costs me about $300 to get someone to register for a free event. That's high. And Facebook ad cost has gone up tremendously in the last couple of years. I used to be able to get someone to register for a free event for a lot less, but the cost just keeps going up every single year. And so what's happening is a lot of coaches, they don't know how to get leads consistently, and they don't know how to get enough leads. It's like they've got one strategy or two strategies that they use to bring people in, but there's limitations around that. So like if all you're using is Facebook ads, you have a limitation of budget. If all you're using is Messenger and you're doing prospecting through Messenger, you have a limitation for how many reach outs Facebook will allow you to do before they put you in Facebook jail. So if you've only got one strategy where leads come in, your business is really vulnerable. So the first thing that we do is we help clients create an organic lead generation strategy where they can bring in 50 to 500 leads per month without having to spend on ads. So we're looking at either free or very low cost strategies. The second piece of the puzzle is your sales strategy and system. So you've got to have a way to be able to map out the customer journey, because when a lead comes to you, they're not really ready to close unless they were a referral. Referrals come to you pretty close to ready to close, but the average lead comes to you curious about how you can help them, but not convinced that you're the one. And so you've got to create a customer journey. So how do I take them from that space of kind of like a lukewarm lead and move them through until they're a hot prospect ready to close? And how do we create automation, and how do we make it duplicatable? Because when you're doing those two things, that right there, having organic lead generation and a consistent sales process, that right there is a business between 100,000 to 250,000 right there. Fix those two problems, that's where you end up as a coach. The challenge is it's a lot of work. And that's where I think most coaches get stuck, is they're like, oh my gosh, Amy, all this time creating content and finding speaking opportunities and running my online summits, it's so much work. And so the other half of the equation is there's two people that you need to have on your team. And these two people, this will be the difference between like $100,000 and $500,000 a year in your coaching business. So person number one is your virtual marketing assistant. So you wear many hats as the coach. You're the business owner, you're the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the accountant or bookkeeper, you have content creator, you have so many roles that you have to do. And so the marketing is very, very time consuming, and you just don't have time to do it all on your own, which is why most coaches only have one lead generation strategy. So by getting a virtual marketing assistant in place, they can create that consistent lead flow, and now you always have leads to work with. The second person that you need on your team is your appointment setter. So the appointment setter's job is to take all of those leads and to qualify those leads and get appointments set on your calendar. So every single week you have qualified leads who are excited to talk to you, and you can have consistent closing. I mean, think about it. If you close 1 out of 5 people, if you had 5 people on your calendar each week, you would close a new client every single week. How many of you would feel pretty good about yourself if you were closing 4 high ticket deals per month, right? It doesn't take a lot in order to create this consistency. So that's the process. It's those four things. It's super simple and at the same time, not. It's also, this is where the work comes in of running the coaching business.
That's what I wanted to say. There you have it. Now that's it. $500,000 business from Amy on 10 minutes, and there we have it. As simple as that. But we all know it's not just that. Still, I think it's a very good structure that many, especially those who are setting up their coaching business, can follow. Also, those who have already started, but they don't see that consistent stream of clients.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess before we go into detail in each of these categories, because obviously we would like to know more about it, I just wanted to ask you, what are the biggest mistakes that coaches make when they set up their business? So before we go into this, I just wanted to understand, what are the mistakes that coaches do initially and how to avoid
Yeah,
those.
the biggest thing is that they set up their business in a way that it is actually not scalable. So there's a couple different things that they do underneath that, but one is they make it so that they've considered their labor to be free labor. So they're putting in all of this work and they're paying themselves just out of like business profits. But when you pay yourself that way and you set it up that way, you never have money to hire anyone else because you've considered your labor to be free labor. So when I start working with coaches, I want them to actually price their services according to being able to pay for having someone help them grow their business. Like whenever someone tells me I can't afford to hire a salesperson or I can't afford to hire a virtual marketing assistant, I'm like, oh, well, that means you're not priced correctly. If you were priced correctly, you would have that built into your pricing structure so you can afford to pay people so that you can afford to grow. So, the other thing that is really detrimental to growing a coaching business is that they don't have any systems or processes. They're running the business completely off of their own charisma, their own talent, their own skill. And the problem with that is every time you take a break, your business stops, literally stops. You can't go on vacation, you can't get sick, you can't take maternity leave because everything stops because the whole business is you. And so when you take you and then you build it into a system and a process, now you can go on vacation. Now you can take time off and you'll come home and you'll have sales. I remember when I was moving my family across the country, it took us 5 days to drive from where we lived to where we are now. And during that 5 day drive, I had $30,000 show up in my checking account, which was awesome because we had just bought a new house. And I was like, wow, we just got back like half of our down payment for what we paid for this new house while I've been driving for 5 days with my 5 crazy boys in the car. So it felt like a reward for that little piece of trauma. So that's what we want to get to is not running. We don't want to set the business up in a way that it is 100% dependent on us. We want to build it based off of systems and based off of processes and really run it like a company, not just run it like the Amy show or the Maria show or the whatever your name is show.
Got it. So then how do we do that?
It's going to start at a really granular level, which is you're going to start intentionally building out the customer journey. So this is where we look at it and we say, okay, first of all, how do people meet me? And then from the time they meet me, how do I get their contact information? Then how do I build the relationship? And then how do I get them on a sales call? Then when I'm on a sales call with them, what do I do? And then after the sales call, what does my process look like? So we're going to take the things that we're doing naturally already, and we're going to actually build a process and start building some automation, which, that's why they're using Pensight, right? Because they want to build their business and they want to create processes. So you've got the tools to be able to do it. But a lot of times what coaches do is they buy the tool and they're like, this is going to be a really great tool. And then you don't actually work the tool. And so you just pay for the tool and the tool is sitting there, but you're not actually building the processes inside of the tool. So it's slowing down a little bit in order to map all of this out and get it ready and then put it into your business. And then once you have the systems going, then that allows you to hire somebody else to work it for you, because growth is going to either happen through one of three things. It's either going to be systems, automation, or team members. But there's only so much that your business can grow based on you, because there's only so many hours in the day. And once your hours are gone, that's it. That's all the growth there is. And so if you want to grow beyond your time, it's going to come through systems, automation, or people. And that's it.
Got it. Well, okay, so we are gonna do the customer journey. Does this go hand in hand with the framework that you described just before, composed of those four elements?
Yeah.
Which I would like you to tell us again the four main structures, four main elements. Were those organic lead
Yeah, organic lead
generation?
generation. So
Okay.
let's just kind of go through each one at a time. So with organic lead generation, here's an acronym to remember. I've looked at all of the coaching businesses that I've worked with, and the ones who have hit and maintained multi six-figure or seven-figure businesses all had these same components. So it's PPPEC. Okay, the first one is prospecting. So this is where you're engaging in groups online, you're using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you're using the hashtags on Instagram, and you're finding people and connecting with them, building relationships, and using Messenger to get them to schedule a sales call with you. Prospecting is a really powerful tool, but you can only prospect so much. So you shouldn't have it as your only tool in your tool belt, but it is a really powerful one. The next one is building your platform. So this is creating content, creating your message, doing things like we're doing right now. This is platform building for both of us, because I'm getting to share my message and you're establishing your listenership for your podcast. We're both working on our platform right now. The third P is partners. It is harder and slower if you're trying to build your business on your own, but finding really great referral partners where you can, they can send people to you, you can send people to them, you can collaborate together. In about a month, we're hosting one of our online conferences. 4 times a year, we host an online conference where we have 20 different speakers come on and we all promote the event together. And that's where the majority of our sales come from each year, is through those 4 conferences. So that's partner marketing. We're partnering up with other people and we're creating something together that we couldn't create on our own. The next is events. So your events might be online events, they might be in-person events, but you need an opportunity to actually plug in and people. We cannot run our coaching business without actually engaging and having that higher level connection experience that comes through events. So maybe that's networking, maybe it's attending conferences, maybe it's speaking at conferences, maybe it's hosting your own events. I love online. I always have, because I do have 5 boys and 4 of them still live at home. And I live out in the country. I'm far from every city. So the more that I can do online, the better. But even still, I do in-person events. So that's the E. And then the C, PPEEC. Now I'm forgetting my C. I will get it. I will get it. I was like, I have this so ingrained in my mind, and now all of a sudden it's like falling out of my brain. But I'll get it, and I'll circle back to it. So, it's community. It's community. That's what it is. Building a community. You want a community because the community is what builds loyalty, and it's what creates that referral basis. People are more likely to refer when they feel like there's a movement going on. So when you have those 5 pieces in your organic marketing strategy, you're going to be able to generate consistently between 50 and 500 leads. We do 50 leads a month without really even thinking about it. Like that's a minimum of what would roll in. On average, If we're doing an event month, we're going to have somewhere between 500 to 1,000 leads coming in. And on a non-event month, we're going to have more like a couple hundred leads coming in. So that process, and that's not paying for ads. We're not paying for ads. So that process is going to help you be able to really build that. And then as we come up with the right strategy, then we have to map out the process. And then that's what the virtual assistant does. The virtual marketing assistant can follow the process. On the sales side of things, the first thing that I do look at is the customer journey and map out, how do I want a client to flow through the sales process? Because ideally, my coaching friends, you don't want to be the only person selling in your business. You want to have an appointment setter who's going to keep your schedule full, and then you get to graduate from closing and you get to have a closer, and then you just get to do more coaching and not have to be the one who's always selling. It takes a little bit of laying foundation to get there. So first we map out the customer journey, and then we've got to do things like create our sales scripts, create our sales SOPs, create our lead stages, set up our pipeline. We need to know how to track the sales. We need to understand our numbers. I love looking at people's sales numbers because I'm like, oh, I can tell you exactly where the problem is based on the numbers. And then you know what to focus your time and energy on, instead of being like, nobody's buying anything, I can't sell. And you're trying to revamp the whole process. Your numbers will tell you like, this is the spot right here, fix this one spot, and you're going to be good as gold. So that's really what the process looks like. And it might sound to some people exciting because they're like, oh, there is a formula. I've been wanting just like someone to tell me what's the formula. There is a formula. And for other people, it's going to sound overwhelming because you're like, I just wanted to coach and help people, right? And so it just depends on which side of the spectrum you're on. The reality is that business works when you have the pieces of the puzzle in place and when they're connected. And when you're like, I have, this piece, like I have a Facebook and I have this piece over here where I have a newsletter, but I haven't connected the two, then neither one of them is really going to work for you. So it's not that it's a lot more work. It's that it's more strategic and you're making sure that everything's flowing together instead of feeling like, but I built a landing page and I built this and I built that and I built that, but they're not all working together. Which is why having, an all-in-one platform like Pensight is so helpful, because it's just built so that everything can work together. You just have to go in there and figure out how you want it to work and get it set up so that it's really producing for you.
Exactly. And that makes a big difference, especially in the beginning where everything is so overwhelming and there are so many pieces of the puzzle to put in place.
The Coach Tribe podcast is powered by Pensight. I want to take this opportunity to tell you more about Pensight and how much value it can provide you and your coaching business.
Pensight is an all-in-one platform for coaches and educators that enables you to quickly and easily build a highly credible page and sell your knowledge with one-to-one sessions, group coaching, courses, Q&As, digital products, and bundles. Payments, scheduling, video calling, client communications, and everything else is taken care of.
All it takes is 5 minutes to set up, and it's free. It's the smartest way to kickstart your coaching business. Sign up to Pensight today at pensight.com.
Now, just because it is overwhelming, I know it is. I'm speaking with lots of coaches every single day, and the whole process is overwhelming, and maybe not just in the beginning, but throughout the journey, because there are constant challenges. I guess you just get used to it and you build your mindset and you just get stronger. But I wanted to ask you, what are the things that the priorities when it comes to setting up the sales system? I know you mentioned sales, script, SOP, pipeline, metrics. What are the things that really have to be there in place before anything else? Also, what are SOPs for those people who don't know what they are?
Yeah, that's a great question. Standard operating procedures. So here's an example of one. When someone schedules a call with us, they get a video from me that says, hey, I'm so excited that you scheduled a call with us. I just want to make this quick video for you to tell you what we're going to do in this call and what to expect. and we can't wait to work with you. And so that helps our hold ratio. That makes more people show up for the call. Whereas if we don't send it, we have more people that cancel or no show. So it's just going through and saying each step of the way after somebody has a call, if they didn't close, but they're still thinking about it, they get a series of emails that goes out because we move them to a pending stage. And then when they're pending, they get the first email talks about like the program and what we can create together. The second one is case studies and testimonials. And the third one just talks about being scared. Like, hey, are you scared? Because it's normal to be scared. I've been in your shoes and here's what I've learned about fear. So it's going through and saying what should happen at each point along the way so that everybody knows and it's not a mystery and you're not dropping the ball. If I don't have these processes in place, I will drop the ball because I cannot remember. I have a lot of children and a lot of clients, and there are a lot of people who need things from me, and I'll be like, oh, I forgot. And it's not because I don't have good intentions, it's just because I'm human. So that's what standard operating procedures are. But the first place to start with sales is if you are, it depends on where your business is at. So if your business is in the phase where you're like trying to do your first 6 figures, the very first place that you need, 2 things that you need leads to call, and you need personal sales skills, which is going to be like your sales script, feeling confident, sales mindset, knowing how to overcome objections. That's what you need. You need leads and you need personal sales skills. But if you're at that place, you're like, I've been sitting around 6 figures for a while and I really want to grow, but my problem is I don't have more time. I can't put more into it. I'm already working hard. Then what you need is you need the structure of the process so that you can hire other people. Because most coaches, honestly, really good ones, they max out around 6 figures if they're trying to do it all by themselves. And it's not that they don't have virtual assistants. What I've noticed in the coaching industry specifically, though, is they hire the wrong virtual assistant first. So the first virtual assistant they hire is like an admin person who does tasks for them to give them more time, instead of hiring someone to make them more money so that they can then go and hire the admin person and still walk away with more time and more money. So it's like they get someone to do things so that then they can work more, instead of getting someone to make more money for them so that they can work less and still make more. It's just, I would flip the order of the hires.
Okay, can you go a bit more into detail or specifics with this?
Yeah, so
yeah.
My first hire that I made was an appointment setter, because I was marketing, and so I was getting leads coming in consistently from the beginning. I was getting, 50 to 500 leads a month from the very beginning, just me doing my marketing. So the first person I hired was an appointment setter to call all of those leads because I did not have time to do it. So she would call the leads, she would get them set up. And from the very beginning, we were doing $10,000 a month consistently from the beginning, because I had leads and I had somebody calling the leads and I had sales calls every single week. Then the second thing that I hired was the marketing assistant to be able to help me now take that part off of my plate, because marketing is time consuming. It just is. There's no way around that. And so she was then getting she was finding partners, and we were doing trainings, co-trainings together, and she was finding places for me to speak. And so she was doing those 2 things. So now I had more time and I had more money, because once I hired the marketing person, then we were doing more like 20 to 25,000 a month. Then I could go and hire the admin person to take care of the admin tasks, and I had the money to do it because we had predictable, sustainable sales. When you hire the admin person first, it feels painful to pay them because they're not making you any money. They're just costing you money. And so you're constantly running up against this idea of like, maybe I should just do this myself. It's hard. I can't afford to pay them. Sales are inconsistent. It's stressful. I don't want to not be able to afford payroll or pay them late or anything like that. So maybe I'll just do it myself. Whereas when you hire somebody who is going to directly make you more money, it's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. The reason I hired my setter first too was because I paid her on commission. So I didn't even have to pay out of pocket. I paid her on commission. And so that was lovely because I didn't have the risk. She made money when I made money.
I love this point, and I know that picking the right VA, not even the right, just someone who can bring value to your business is a big challenge that you face, especially in the beginning. Any tips and that we should know about when find where can we find these VAs? What should we look for? Any specific traits that the good ones possess?
Well, I think you can tell that I have processes for everything. So you just opened a new file in my brain, which is dangerous. Here's what I will say. Everyone gives you the advice of hire slow, fire fast, but they don't tell you what that looks like. So whenever I'm hiring, I have like a multi-tier process, which starts with, at the very beginning, making sure that I've set up the system for them to be successful. A virtual assistant is not going, they're going to follow a process, not create the process. So if you don't have the process in place, you're probably not ready to hire yet. I have a client who's in that same boat. She's like, I'm ready to hire. I'm like, no, you're not. You don't have the process in place. You're ready for help. You want help, but you're not ready to hire because you don't have the process in place. So that's what we do first. Then with my hiring process, in the US, when I'm hiring in the US, I hire off of Indeed. I hire a lot in the Philippines, and I use onlinejobs.ph. I've found great people there. In fact, half of my team is US based and half of them are based in the Philippines. I recommend that you either hire somebody to write your job post for you or pay for a really good template, because having the right job post can increase your number of applicants by 3 or 4 times. And that decreases the cost per applicant, which increases your chances of finding the right person. So that makes a big difference. I do 2 or 3 interviews. I don't hire salespeople in a group, and I don't do group interviews in the Philippines because culturally they just don't work. But if I'm hiring like any kind of admin support or coaching or anything like that, I do a group interview, then I do a one-on-one, and then I do a skills assessment where I'm actually assessing the things that they are being hired to do to make sure that they can really do it. And that process helps me to narrow out the big talkers, but the ones who can't actually produce for you. But then your onboarding process is really critical too. You've got to have I call it a scale up plan, where each week it's like the benchmarks of where I want them to be. So I can see if they're falling behind, I can address it and say, hey, you didn't hit your benchmarks this week. This is where I need you to be performance wise. What support or training do you need to get there? And then they know, like, oh, she's serious. She's not, okay, we don't coast here. Like, we have to actually do the thing we were hired to do and do it well. And so that helps to raise the performance up. But also just creates like a really good vibe. My team, they love working for us because we have this awesome culture. We have a no drama policy. We do not throw anyone under the bus. So when we make a mistake, we accept accountability as a team and we fix it as a team. We have flexibility built into our culture where we truly practice work-life balance. Like, it's part of our culture. We have a really supportive vibe. And so when you bring people on and they buy into high performance, they get the benefits of the culture. And you can see really quickly when you've got the wrong person. I'm not going to say that you're going to hire right 100% of the time. When I hire an appointment setter, I hire 2 for every one that I want to stick around. Like, for everyone that I think is going to make it, I'll hire 2 for everyone. So I'm not expecting 100% for them to be successful, but I really want to set them up to be successful. And if they're not successful, I know it's not because of us. I know it's because they just aren't a fit on our team. It doesn't mean they won't be successful somewhere else. It just means they're not successful here.
Got it. And it seems like you obviously know a lot about VAs, and I just wanted to ask if you can tell us a price range of these VAs, maybe dependent on their skills, maybe the appointment setters or the marketing VAs, do they have different prices? And can you give us an idea of what those are?
Sure. It's going to vary depending on what part of the world you're hiring in. And I truthfully hire in the US and I hire in the Philippines, and I don't really hire other places. So I can give you those places. Number one is when you're hiring in the US, you want to actually post your jobs in less expensive markets. Because if you're trying to, and this would be the case no matter where you are, if you're in the UK hiring in London, because the cost of living is higher there, like London, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, all these places are going to be expensive to live, and so it costs more to hire. So you want to go out more into the country areas where the cost of living is lower and post your jobs in those areas. So that will help to bring the cost down. But it depends. A general virtual assistant is going to be somewhere between probably $13 to $18 an hour, but a more skilled, like somebody who's going to be building your landing pages, running your systems, more skilled technical virtual assistant is going to be more between $25 and $40 an hour. Somebody who is very skilled may charge you $75 an hour. Like my copywriter, she is more like $150 an hour. She's very skilled in that one specific place. So then when we go to the Philippines, a general virtual assistant, and now, by the way, I always have to tell people this because otherwise they get mad and they're like, you're mistreating your people. So a nurse or a school teacher in the Philippines is going to be earning around $2.50 per hour. So I want you to understand that these rates, even though they're very low for many of us, these are good livable wages for them. So a general VA, I don't like to pay less than $4 an hour, and I usually don't pay less than $5. I try to pay above what is the expected because it builds so much loyalty in my team. So appointment setters, when you hire in the Philippines, you cannot do straight commission. They're going to need some security, but what I pay my appointment setters is $6 an hour. Plus then I pay them a commission when somebody closes. My like managers in the Philippines, I pay $8 to $8.50 an hour. Plus I pay performance bonuses. I have a amazing technical VA that does WordPress and landing pages and runs our CRM. And she's like $10.50 an hour. So that's kind of the range. I don't think I've paid more than like $15 an hour in the Philippines, but there are some projects where you want to pay a little bit more because you want somebody who's very specifically skilled in a certain area. What I will say though, this is my big, this is my big thing. Hope you take this away. Hope you write this down and remember it. Your job as a coach is not to know how to do everything it takes to run the business, but you do need to understand it to know if it's being done well or not. Because when I see this with coaches, they're like, I don't want to sell. I'm just going to get a salesperson. And then the salesperson bombs and they're like, well, that didn't work. But they didn't know enough about what should have been happening in sales to ask the right questions and to partner with the salesperson. It was like they just wanted to abdicate that responsibility and be like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Or same with marketing. I've had clients where they're like, I'm just going to hire a marketing agency. And then they hire the marketing agency. They pay them every single month. It doesn't turn into sales. I had a client spend, are you ready for this? $50,000 on Facebook ads and never get one client. Never got one. And it's so painful to watch these experiences. So your job as the business owner is to learn enough about business so that you know what's going on. Otherwise, you pay the ignorance tax, which is expensive. We don't want to pay that tax.
I love that you brought this up. And just before we end the call, then I want to ask you exactly in this context, how do we know what we should learn ourselves first before we delegate and what we can delegate directly?
It doesn't take as long as you think to get to that point where you know what should be happening. So for example, we teach a 2-day workshop where on day 1, we build out the marketing strategy. Day 2, we build out the sales strategy. And after you come home from that, like when you're done, you're 80% of the way there to being able to hire. So if you were to work hard for a couple of weeks to finish up those last production pieces, you could start hiring right away. But it's really the mindset of delegation is partnership, right? When you hire someone, you are in partnership with them. And I see too many people hire something and then they don't want to communicate. They don't want to be bothered. They just want people to produce money for them. It's like they wanted to plant a money tree, not hire a person. So if you will be a good collaborator and a good boss and you'll listen to them and you'll work through challenges, and always put yourself in an environment where you have someone on your team who knows more than you do. And that is coaches. Coaches should have coaches. Really, we should all have coaches. I always have a coach. I always have somebody who is teaching me the parts of my business that I don't know yet, because every time we get to a new level, there are new things that we don't know in that level. So if you are a coach without a coach, you probably should get a coach. And you should get a coach that helps you in the areas that you're not already strong in, because that's another thing we do as coaches. Sometimes we just hire the coaches to teach us the things that we're already good at. Like, help me, coach me to be a better coach, but you're already a good coach, right? Instead, hire a coach to teach you the parts of your business that you're like, I don't even know where to begin with all this. That's probably the coach that you need.
I love this, and I think this is a perfect way to end our conversation today. I wanted to ask you, where can people find more about you? Is there any resource that they can access? And in general, where should they find you? Where can they find you?
I would love to. Is it okay if I give a gift? Can I give gifts?
Oh yes, we love gifts. So please give us as many gifts as you would like.
Awesome. Well, what I'll do is I will, if it's all right with you, I'll give each of your listeners a gift where they can come to my 2-day workshop for free. So I'll give you guys some free tickets. And that really is where we can not just get to know each other, but really get to work and start building out your processes. When you leave that 2 days, you're going to have so much clarity around what needs to be built and implemented in your business for you to be able to hit your goals. So yeah, that would be we will get to know each other real well.
Well, what can I say? I think you might. Can I come? Can I come to the workshop? Is that in?
Absolutely.
So, guys, you heard Amy. I guess we'll all meet there, because I'm sure there are lots of lessons for us to learn there. And I think, where can you share the link maybe on your Pensight profile, or where can we find it?
Yeah, I'll put it on the Pensight profile, and it's going to be just a special link for you guys, so you won't have to pay for the tickets like other people do.
Wow. Well, keep listening to the Coach Tribe podcast and see what amazing gifts you guys get. So what can I say? Well, you heard Amy. Check her Pensight page. She's going to have all of her socials, all of the information over there, so you can learn more about her and access those tickets. And now, just before the real end, I have a little surprise for you, Amy.
Awesome.
I will have 5 fire questions that I'm going to throw your way. And I'm expecting fast answers, whatever comes on top of your mind first.
I love
Are
these.
you in?
I'm in. I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay. Question number 1. If you could go back and tell yourself a piece of advice when you were launching your business, what would it be?
To stress less in the lows, because they're temporary.
Okay, I was taking that in for myself. So stress less.
Stress less during the hard times. They're temporary and they do not last forever.
And they definitely do not define you. So
No.
You heard her. Question number 2. What's one belief that you've changed recently?
I don't know if I want to share this because I don't know if everyone is ready for it. But I think you need consistency to get to a certain point. But once you get to that certain point, I'm realizing that consistency in your work is actually a little bit of a hindrance. And so I've learned that my business is growing the best when I give myself like a creative week and then a productive week and then a creative week and then a productive week. But I wouldn't do that if you're just getting started. I would focus on consistency.
Okay, that is interesting. And I hope many of us will get to that level to really understand what you mean here. Now, question number 3. Who are you most grateful for?
My husband. Totally my husband. We have 5 kids. take care of the family together. We run the business together, and I could truly not do what I do without him.
Well, sending my best energy and gratefulness to your husband and your family. Oh my God, 5 kids. Wow, you're a hero. Question number 4. One book everyone should read.
How to Get a Meeting with Anyone by Stu Heineck. And I can't just pick one. The other one is Building Your Story Brand by, I can't think of his name. Building Your Story Brand and How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. Those two are awesome.
I like this because they're new and I haven't heard about them. And I always love new recos. Last question. One message on a billboard for most people to see. What would you write?
When you impact a woman, you impact her entire community.
Would you like to give us just a bit of an explanation?
Women, every society that values here's a great example. When a woman in a developing nation earns $1, she reinvests 80% of that into raising and elevating her community through education, through helping and serving others. And so if we really want to make a huge impact in the world, we need more women's voices. We need more women to step into their power, and we need to create space for feminine leadership, that it doesn't all have to be done in a masculine way. And I think women are incredibly powerful. And I love men too. I have 5 sons and an amazing husband. This is not a knock on men. This is just an opportunity for us to create more space for women to show up in their greatness.
Well, I love this. And thank you so much for creating this space for us to do exactly that. Well, Amy, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you today. We definitely got lots of learnings. We had this amazing gift that I'm really looking forward to. And I also wanted to thank the audience for sticking till the end. I am sure it was worth it. And any last words from your side?
Keep going and celebrate the little stops along the way, because the horizon moves when you're pursuing success. And so each time you get to a new level, you're going to see this new place that you wish that you were at, but just enjoy the little stops along the way. Every new place that you hit, celebrate it, because it is truly an accomplishment, and this is a brave space to step into. It's not the easiest path, but it is the most rewarding path.
Beautiful words, and I couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thank you, Amy. Thank you, everyone. And I guess tune in for the next episode. See you guys to the next one. Have a good one.
Hope you enjoyed this episode.
We'll be releasing every Wednesday, so make sure to
subscribe
and rate 5 stars where you're listening to this show to give others a chance to discover it too.